Okay, thank you for this introduction and thank you for having me here this morning. My name is Stefan Erne. I'm from Handelsbanken in Sweden, but as you mentioned, I have a background actually in the telecoms industry. I've been 20 years in the telecoms industry and been driving and driven by digital transformation. So I'm now trying to do the same here in the financial industry. And I think this whole open banking discussion is, of course, really something that is putting even more pressure on this digital transformation that is happening here in this industry. I'd like to share little insights from what kind of bank are we, what maybe makes us also a little special, how are we handling this digital transformation, and then at the end also come with some examples how we're driving innovation and what exactly is the outcome of that. And just to start with, I think we are a very special bank. And to be honest, all the discussions that I'm having here one-to-one with people that are not that familiar, some people don't even understand how it can work in our company. And we are very active, as you probably know, in the Scandinavian markets. We are in all the Scandinavian countries, plus the Netherlands and the UK. So this is our regional focus. But we have a very different way of doing business. And coming from a world where this digital transformation with agile ways of working and so on has come further than in the financial industry. From my perspective, I think Handelsbanken has some core beliefs and some kind of a culture that is already pretty close to what a lot of other companies want to achieve. And I have a slide here with me that is trying to describe in which parameters are we different than other companies. And I was trying to pick only 3 of them, but I think, to be honest, I think it's important to understand the bandwidth of those different things, because it's not enough just to have 3 things in place. It's like a Swiss clock. I mean, there are a lot of things pieces that have to work together. And if you look at that page, you see a lot of things where I think, and we don't write this only on paper. I mean, there are hundreds and thousands of proof points that this is the way we're running the bank. Just this morning, and we can start at the bottom, people come to me and say, how can we help you with your marketing campaigns? I say, you can't, because we don't do them. We have no central marketing organization. We do marketing via the branches where we're out there and meet our customers. That means, of course, we're doing it, but we're not doing it from a central organization. We don't have a huge strategy department, central one, that is giving the direction, that is coming with reorganizations from time to time. We don't work this way. We have an extremely decentralized model, which means that the people in the branches have all the authority and the power to take the decisions on the spot when they're meeting the customer, but they also have to live with the consequences. So we don't have a service center somewhere else in the world or somewhere else in Sweden who takes care of the stuff that people have produced in the branch. No, they have to live with their actions. And this is creating an extremely high level of autonomy, responsibility, and people really do what is good for the bank. Then if you look at, we don't have a short-term bonus system that is pushing people to do things that is maybe good in the short run for their own pocket, but not really good for the company. We don't have that at all. We have a long-term model which we call Octagonen, where everybody gets a share if the company is succeeding its goals. And I think it's all these small pieces that you see here on this slide. We don't have a product push. We don't push products. It's everything about the relation with the customer. So the person that is meeting the customer is deciding what is right or wrong. And he doesn't have push from the back going for products or giving extra bonuses if he sells the one or the other product. So our main measurements, of course, and we need them as well, this is customer satisfaction and that's profitability. And we break this down to very small pieces in the bank. And that's why when we are now talking about agile ways of working, I mean, this is the way that this bank has been working since 1970, because we have agile teams in the branches at the moment. We had them for a couple of decennials, and this is now what we're. So if we introduce this agile way of working now in the rest of the bank, people want to jump on this train. I mean, we have quite a double-digit percentage of people working now in agile release trains based on the SAFe model. The people that are not there, they also want to come into those trains. And when I'm talking to my old colleagues from the industry in Germany, I mean, that's a mess. Nobody wants to go over there. It's a hierarchy. People want People don't want to lose their power. That's totally different in our company. That's why for us this transformation into agile ways of working, for example, is of course we have our challenges, yeah, sure, but it's not that big cultural problem. And on the other hand, just to give you some proof point, and this is one of the slides, one of the few slides that we're using when we're explaining the success of our business model, and this is the result of the customer satisfaction surveys. And you see here all the home markets where we're active, and I mean we are doing really good here. Yeah. Then of course you could say a level of 70. There's still room for improvement, so it's not that we're leaning back. Of course we have to become even better in that. But the difference to our competitors at the moment is just increasing. And one thing is important here. This is not only true for the physical interactions we're having with our customers. This is also true for our digital channels. So when we are asking, or when these independent companies are asking customers in these home markets, who has the best applications, digital banking tools, it's Handelsbanken that pops up. There's a recent study from UBS. They could hardly believe it themselves, because we're not talking about it. Yeah, well said, we don't have a central marketing organization pushing that out, but from a customer perspective, we are there. We have the best digital tools for our customers. And all of this is, of course, in the same environment as we're all living in. And I think pictures like this, you've all seen them before. It's not that we're living in a different world than you are living. We also have regulations. We have new players like fintech, big techs popping up. We have new technology that is impacting us the same way as you, and we have different customer demands. So it's not that we're living on a different planet. We have exactly the same things. The question is only, what do we do with it? How do we react on that? And our way of really describing how we want to position ourselves in this more and more digitalized world is by, that's what we actually try to describe in this vision. And of course, we understand there's a huge potential in digital interactions, digital tools, digital products, but we really believe that it's the combination with the physical presence, with the personal interactions that really makes the difference. And to be honest, the more our competitors are getting out from this local and personal touch, the more opportunities we see for us. And we see this in a lot of places, in all our home markets, where other banks are pulling out of the rural areas, where they're forcing their customers into digital interactions, into call centers. This creates a lot of opportunities for us. And once again, it's not by only having the physical interactions, really by having this, and that's why we're working on to bring those two circles more and more into an overlap. So it's not that you either go to the branch or you go to the digital. It's the interaction where we are looking at seamless customer journeys, where we are offering, depending on what kind of customer you are, what kind of challenges you're having, that we want to deliver a seamless interaction, a seamless customer journey, where the combination of physical interaction via a personal meeting, via digital tools, or purely digital interactions in the app, for example. It's a combination where we believe we can create the best value for our customers and, to be honest, differentiate ourselves in the best way, because there are not a lot of companies that are going this way. I think I have quite a lot of analyst meetings and or investor meetings. There was an investor who said, it looks like everybody's going to the left, but you're going to the right. And that's what we're doing, because we are really the ones. I think in Sweden we have as many branches as Handelsbanken as all the other big brands together. So it's a pretty big bet. It's not only talking, it's really, we have a huge bet on the physical presence, on the personal interactions with our customers. And here in the UK, this is our main success factor. So the next question then, of course, I would say is how do we make this happen? Because this doesn't happen by itself. One more thing. We also see, and that's maybe important, that we're not alone in believing that this is the right way to go. I have here some examples. I don't know how strong of a topic this is here in the UK, but in Sweden we have quite a lot of these digital doctors now, which are providing doctor's visits via an app. not only for people, but also for pets now. So you can have if you're a dog, you have a problem with your dog, you can show it to the doctor. A huge hype, a lot of discussions from a regulatory perspective and how are they earning money and so on. And I think they're actually pretty good in bringing this physical doctor's meeting delivering via digital channel. But they are also realizing, and I don't know how many of you are able to understand this Swedish here, they have also understood that they can do some things via this digital channel, but not everything. So they are now opening up physical doctor places to really cover the whole of the needs of their customers. So it's happening in the healthcare sector, but of course, it's also happening in this big space of Amazon that is also now pushing into physical presence and has different types of stores that they're pushing out to create this physical interaction with their customer. And I mean, they are world leader in this digital stuff. But still, they are going into this. And they bought Whole Foods in the US for quite a lot of money. So they have also understood that there is some value in this combination. And we think, of course, that this is, of course, a proof point also for our strategy, that it cannot be that wrong to be active on both levels. Not only for us, but also in these other industries. But then coming back to what does it take to make it happen? And we've been discussing this internally for quite a long time, so it was a very thorough process. And we came up with these 4 focus areas, how we really can bring the local and the physical interaction to more and more an overlap. And the first one is about the customer meeting. I mean, there are more and more channels popping up, and we have to make sure that we have the best interaction in these channels, which means that they have to be very easy to handle. It has to be an omni-channel experience. We have to make sure that we know what the customers are doing in the different channels so that you don't start in one, and then if you continue in the next, you have to start from all over again. So I think that's, from my perspective, that's a no-brainer, but as you all know, it's not that easy to make it happen in an organization where you have different silos and different people being responsible for the different meeting places and so on. But this is really about bringing all these meeting places together based on the customer journey and the needs of the customers. The second thing, which we call building relationships, this really is I would say, the core of Handelsbanken, because we have in Sweden these 400 branches. I think altogether we have around 800 branches as a Handelsbanken. We have thousands of people sitting in these branches. And if we want to make sure that they are able to deliver this or to build deeper relationships, we have to make sure that they're spending their time with building relationships and not with doing administrative tasks. And at the moment, to be honest, there's quite a lot of room for improvement to make them more working towards customers instead of working internally. So the number one thing here is really freeing up time for our people in the branches to be able to deliver more customer meetings. Because one thing the feedback that we are getting from all these customer services, that people want more proactivity from us. They're expecting more proactivity from our branches, but we are not able to deliver this at the moment because we have so many administrative things, and regulation is not really helping on that side. So here the most important thing is really freeing up time with automation in the branches and also giving our colleagues the best tools, CRM tools, to make sure that they know which customer to reach out with, that they have the right information about the customer. To really strengthen our relationships. The third part here, data and security. I think we heard a lot about that yesterday. I think open banking is all about data. We have a very clear view on that. The way that we want to handle the data is really with the highest level of integrity and security. That's why I think you cannot talk about data without the integrity and security part. And to be really honest, I also sometimes have the feeling that we're having a focus too much on the data that we don't have, instead of working with the data that we're having in the company. Because I saw a study recently around data where somebody was comparing how much are different industries using the data that they're having internally. And I think was in the media industry was really good. Retail industry was pretty good. Telecoms was not that good at all. And I think for the banks, it was something like 4%. Yeah, so 4% of the data that we're having internally are we using to create value for our customers or for our employees. And to be honest, I think that's where we have to focus on. We have to make sure that we use our internal data and not only talk about open banking and collecting even more data that we don't know really what to do with. So this is the focus here. And then we have this, what we call new corporations, which is very much about breaking up the ecosystem, working together with fintechs, and make sure that we find the right companies that are helping us in our business model, that help us to bring the physical and the digital interaction closer together. And there we're active in the fintech scene in Stockholm, in Oslo, Nordic Finance Innovation, so we're quite active in interacting with those parts of the ecosystem. But as we see it, it's not only about fintechs, it's of course also about other IT providers that can help us mainly that we can bring in there. It's about different parts of the value chain where we can see that we, via cooperation, can become faster, cheaper, and also create more customer value. Coming to the point of technology, and this is where my heart is, or my basis is for real. We were trying to find out, everybody's talking about new technologies and all that stuff, and blockchain here and there. We were trying to find out what do all these new technologies really mean, and especially when and how hard will they make an impact for us. That's why you see the two axes. On the one axis, we were trying to find out when is there really maturity in there, and on the other axis, you see what kind of impact will it have for us. And this is, of course, very special for our industry and for our bank. I mean, we were discussing 5G, for example, with Ericsson. A couple of weeks ago, we had a 5G workshop with Ericsson. For them, the picture looks totally different. Because for them, of course, 5G and IoT is down there and here and now. But based on the fact that we are based on data, I mean, data is somehow our main production material. That's why these data-oriented technologies are also more important for us. And you see, I mean, I think probably there's not a big surprise for anybody of you, but we realized that only driving this discussion in a more structured way and driving this discussion all the way up in the leadership team. We were discussing this with the top leadership team of the company. We're writing together like a 10-pager to explain these different trends and what they mean. I gave this as a summer reading to our executive team last year before summer, because I think it's important that you at least on some level understand what is the threats and the potential of these technologies. Because a lot of the decisions we have to take in this industry are technology decisions. And if we don't have this understanding, there's a high risk that we make the wrong decisions. So this is the way that we're really driving awareness for this, but we are of course also driving we're working on these topics, not only on a PowerPoint level, but really working with them. And for that, we have a team that we call the Emerging Technologies. It's a team setup, an agile team setup, where we not only have the IT guys that know how it works, but we're also bringing in, of course, the business people, which come with a problem. I think it was somebody yesterday who said you shouldn't start with the technology, you start with the problem. And this is where we really bring it together, because if the business side doesn't understand the potential of the technology, it's very hard for them to know what to do with it. And for that, we created this this way of working with innovation, you could say, and especially with emerging technologies. And you see at the top, you see this process from creating awareness and understanding, from hands-on testing, all the way to implementation. Because we realized that if you start working with these new things, you cannot judge them from day one. You don't know exactly how AI is working, what kind of impact it will have. So you have to do this phase in the middle, where you have this lab and experimentation space where you can test things before you can put them into implementation. And what we do pretty different from other companies, and this is what we're trying to show at the bottom, we have an extremely tight interaction between the business side, the people that are testing it, but also the people on the IT side who have to implement it. Because when we're talking to a lot of our competitors in this industry and other industries, they usually have a cool innovation team that is sitting somewhere with the fancy shoes and shirts, They get quite a lot of money and they do cool stuff. But when they come back to the company again, everybody says, ooh, that's not safe enough. It doesn't fit into our IT. Blah, blah. So they get thousands of reasons why it cannot be implemented. And that's why we take a different approach. We are involving those people from the hardcore IT people, the security people, pretty early in this process. And to be honest, and that's based on what I showed before on our decentralized model. There are a lot of extremely forward-leading people in our IT department. They are pushing cloud, for example. So when we bring these people into our innovation activities, they're helping us to find our ways through all the challenges of the big IT department. And then we are looking for people from the business side that are really driving it, that take care of the cultural changes and all the stuff that has to be done there. And in this way, with this really integrated team, then of course we have some dedicated resources that are free to really test and do stuff. And with this team, and we are, I think, about 15 people altogether working on that. But it's not only these 15 people. We are interacting with 50, 100 people in the organization that we're bringing into this stuff. And we see this as an extremely successful model because this is spreading, this is creating a lot of confidence on the organization. This is spreading as a good way of working. We get calls from all over the company who heard what we're doing. They want to be part of that. We have now, that's why we put in this prioritization, because we really have to make sure that we're testing the right things. Not only in Sweden, we have this in a global community. And this way of driving innovation, we really found is a very good way, at least for our organization, because we have this high level of decentralization and a lot of drive in all parts of the organization to improve things. They want to be part of that. And one example where we were able to deliver very fast results, really in production, is in AI. And I'm not sure if we were the first company who has somehow phrased this term from artificial to really augmented intelligence, because our way of using AI is not to take the humans out of the equation. It's really to help humans to better choices, to really help them to become better and help them with this more administrative things. And what we did is we were looking at, and our way to approach it also was not to put a chatbot out towards our end customers, because we've seen some examples from other companies where it was not really successful, or at least the expectations were much higher than what they were able to deliver. We said, let's try it in a little more humble way internally and see how we can help our internal colleagues with this technology. And as you all know, we have to do a lot of administrative work around text. We have to make judgments about text. We have to do reviews about text that we're writing. So we're looking for technology to help us as a natural language processing to understand what we're writing, which, to be honest, is not that easy when you're living in Sweden, because all the big IT giants don't really have Swedish very high on their prioritization list. But at least we found, based on IBM Watson Explorer technology, then we found a small company. You could say this was a fintech who was learning Watson, the Swedish language. So we brought in a couple of those guys into this team. And then we were testing together with the business side in which area, which is the advice review, where we are spending quite a lot of effort to do the review based on regulatory needs. And we were trying to find out how can we use this technology to really improve this process and help our people internally to become more efficient. And for that, we had to bring in some linguistic competence as well. Because if you want to do this, you really have to understand how language is working, what kind of grammatical things are happening there, what kind of, causaler Konjunktion. I don't even know what that means in German, to be honest. But you really have to dig very deep into the grammatical stuff of the language to understand how do you find the right things. And we did this in short sprints. We had 4-week sprints where we trained the model all the time. We had to train the model not only in the Swedish language, but also, of course, in the banking language. And then we have some special stuff at Handelsbanken. So it was a very iterative process. But after 2 4-week sprints in this lab environment, it worked. Yeah, so we were able to show that we were able to train this model, and with the natural language processing, find out which of these documents probably have to be reviewed and which not. And only this was a pretty big surprise for the organization, that it doesn't take like 8 months to do a pre-study and then you maybe start doing something. No, after 8 weeks, we had the prototype ready. And the good thing was that it was not only ready as a prototype, it also was now pretty easy. It took us 6 more months to really put this into production and link it to the systems where the people in the branches are working, to link it to the system where the documents are stored, which is, to be honest, I mean, this is the bigger challenge then. It's not to create the prototype, but to really bring it into your own IT environment. But based on the fact that we had the security people in there, we had the IT architects, the hardcore architects in this team pretty early, we were really able to put this into production after roughly half a year. And with that, I mean, at least due to a lot of benchmark we got and we did with IBM, with CGI, with a lot of IT company, we were among the first 4 to 5% of companies that were able to really deliver IT in production, or AI in production. And this functionality now that we're having to understand language, this is, of course, we can use for all kinds of other stuff. I mean, if you look at GDPR, GDPR is about understanding what are people writing down about their customers, which words should show up, which not. That's where we put machine learning on top of that. So we built some machine learning models to find text pieces that are not really appropriate, which we are now rolling out to our employees. That means you get like an online GDPR check with the things that you're writing about your customers. And this is the way that we are now really pushing out and rolling out these technologies, mainly to help our colleagues internally to become better in their administrative tasks or to become better towards the customers. And then we have like 5 or 6 other ideas about, of course, chatbots and so on, where we can make use of these things that we were learning here in this first phase. And coming back to a little, like I said before, our way of really dealing with technology and technological changes is very much not by replacing it or playing the one against the other, building up a digital channel that is in competition to the physical channel. It's really always the combination. And I think also our way to approach AI is showing that. And this is also really our vision, like I'm always trying to describe, is not to have it either or, but to really make sure, and that's what I'm trying here, to make sure that the overlap of these 2 circles is getting bigger and bigger. And that we, at the end of the day, really have one circle where we are able to provide this integrated local, personal, digital experience towards our customers. So with that, thank you very much for your attention here early this morning, and I'm open for some questions. Thank you.